Hey, what's happening? Welcome to Maych TV. It's been a little while since I've done a video. Just busy, very busy indeed. And I'll be honest, there's been plenty of talking points, but also, been putting a lot of focus into Redmen TV of late. So a couple of things I want to say thank you to everyone who stuck around with the channel, everyone who subscribed, and all of our the long-suffering patrons as well. You guys are all amazing. I love you all very much. I also want to say thank you to OneFootball, who've chosen to continue the sponsorship on the channel. They've been a big help and a big support, even during a global pandemic when lots of sponsors are deciding, yeah, sponsoring stuff isn't really for us. They've been consistent both here and on Redmen TV. Go and check out their fantastic app. I'll put a link in the description underneath. It's got everything you need to cover your football team, given the current climate as well, where we just need as much info as possible, all in one place, whether it's match centres, whether it's news, transfers, rumours, all that good stuff is all on the OneFootball app. Get involved with it. It's an essential part of my world, and it can be an essential part of yours as well. Right, listen, Virgil Van Dijk is out for the season. That's terrible news. It's terrible news. There's not many ways to slice it. Most people will know, long-term viewers of the channel, whether it's Maych TV or whether it's Redmen TV or whether you just know me in life. I'm generally a glass half full kind of guy, always looking to see the positives and things, and we'll get there. The problem is, of course, is that if you're trying to spin, there's no positive spin on this that isn't utter delusion. There's no positives to losing the best centre-half in the world. There's not. There's no way you can get around that. So look, we should rightly be annoyed, angry, upset, whatever, cautious, worried, fearful. Yeah, absolutely, all of the above, because Liverpool have been phenomenal ever since Virgil van Dijk joined the football club. Now, there is some evidence to suggest that Liverpool's defensive frailties and issues were certainly, they were on the wane. I think Liverpool defensively were getting a lot better in the month or two leading up to Van Dijk's signing, but look, that Liverpool team and this Liverpool team has gone on such a massive journey that you can't really put those two things together and look for causality, because it's been far too long. Virgil van Dijk doesn't miss games of footy for Liverpool, and he's been right at the heart of one of the best defenders in world football, and one that's also gone to some of the biggest games and gone deep in every season. I don't need to tell you, he's a massive miss, because he is the best centre-half in footy. There's no team on the planet who wouldn't miss Virgil van Dijk. So we're left with a world where we're going to have to accept that. And what does that look like? And does that mean the sky is falling? Does that mean that Liverpool are absolutely goosed as a result? Maybe. Maybe we might be in a whole world of bother. The most recent evidence and examples of this is Manchester City last season. Obviously, they let Vincent Kompany go. He moved on to further his life back in Belgium. And Laporte's in, and Laporte is seen as the heir apparent to the throne, brilliant centre-half, and City are much better with him. Then when they lose him, and then they really struggle defensively, because they're left with the likes of Otamendi, Stones, Fernandinho playing an auxiliary centre-half. Sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? Where you're looking at your other two guys who really aren't good enough to partner, week in, week out, and then you've got a really good DM who can also deputise. Sounds very familiar. And so, there will be that will be lingering in a lot of minds, and saying, look, Man City were scintillating in attack, but they were woeful in defence last season. They lost 9 games. That's a lot of games of football to lose, particularly if you want to have aspirations of winning major honours. So that will be an example that we can call upon that may leave us feeling a little bit fearful, and fine. I think that's a pretty reasonable analogue comparison for us. The thing that Liverpool have got for them, parking that to one side, because I do think they're two different teams, and I think they're set up very differently. I don't think Liverpool are necessarily as open. They play a style of football that leaves them as open as Manchester City do. Is look around the Liverpool squad, and the note I take encouragement from. And we did a show the other day where I talked about Liverpool's attacking options, and how in years gone by, when your attack is entirely dependent on one man, one guy, whether it was Michael Owen or it was Fernando Torres, if you took that guy away, your outputs just dropped significantly, and your team became loads worse for it. Whereas when you've got multiple guys who can carry water for your team, losing one doesn't make as significant of a difference. That's a wonderful situation that Liverpool are in. Yes, okay, there is no straight replacement for Virgil van Dijk. And even if Liverpool had gone into the market, because that was the one lingering concern over Liverpool's transfer business, is in letting Lovren go, we didn't go in and buy another ready-made replacement. And I agree. I think that is a bit of an oversight in terms of our transfer business, or certainly looks it right now. But what Liverpool have got in the rest of the team is a team jam-packed full of world-class players. I wouldn't expect Liverpool to be absolutely impenetrable at the back now, To be fair, we haven't been impenetrable to back with Virgil Van Dijk in this season, which is also worth bearing in mind. But what we have got is a bunch of players who, when you shuffle the pack around or when you put a team out on the pitch, you're more than capable of winning games of football. You've still got one in Mané and Salah. You've got two of the best forwards / wingers in the game. There's few, if any, that are better than that. So sound. We've still got our goal scoring threat in midfield. Jordan Henderson, absolutely brilliant. If you can keep Fabinho in midfield, absolutely brilliant. You've signed Thiago Alcantara, the best centre mid in world football as well. You've got the two best fullbacks, the best left back and the best right back in world footy. And this is one of the slight sticking points. If Alisson can come back sooner rather than later, and our fingers crossed, the portents for that are positive, that he'll be back in the coming weeks and not months, then you've got a world-class goalie in there as well. And so, yes, you've taken a hit on your defensive positions, but all around, like, this is not a team that's hinged on the performance of one man. And hopefully, hopefully, it might be. We might find that Virgil Van Dijk is that the can at the bottom of the big stack of cans in the supermarket that's keeping it all in place. And if you pull that out, it all comes tumbling down, and we're left with a load of bruises and cans of dented soup all over the place. I'm hopeful that that's not the case. That's all I can say, really, in that regard. And what Liverpool have got, though, when I look at the Man City comparison, John Stones, I like John Stones. I'm not quite sure why he's never really been better than he is. I wonder whether is it Pep Guardiola's fault or whatever. Otamendi sound, but I would compare him as a Lovren comparison more than anything else. I think Joe Gomez is better than John Stones, and I think Matip is better than Otamendi. And I wouldn't never choose for those to be our long-term centre-back partners, but both of them have been fantastic partners for Virgil van Dijk. The question is, can they form a partnership? And I think in terms of raw ability, I think most people would agree with me. I don't think anyone's got real concerns. People might have concerns about form when it comes to Joe Gomez, but I don't think anyone's got concerns over his overall ability levels, because I think he's proven when he gets up a run in the side, he's in the best version of Liverpool's team. And when he's not there, and Matip has stepped up, we've been phenomenal at the back as well. I think about so many big games and big wins that those lads have been involved. Least of all, Matip played in the Champions League final. Is a big one to add to that. Liverpool last season, when they go on the run that wins the league, which is sort of like November to the end of January, Joe Gomez is in the side in that, and we just stop conceding goals, and he's absolutely fantastic. The biggest question mark is going to be over the injuries and the injury record of those players. I do feel like Joe Gomez's injury proneness is slightly overstated. Yes, he's had injuries, but the problem he's had is he's had major impact injuries. Now, that can be a form of injury proneness, I guess. I mean, you know, some people just do attract more injuries and are less resistant to those things. I think the broken leg that Joe Gomez misses out with because of Burnley is not something that you would class as someone being injury prone. And then he has obviously a bad knee injury as well thrown into there, which is, as we've seen, is a thing that can happen to footballers, certainly. Now, he's just got to go and prove that. Joel Matip, on the other hand, at 29 years old, we're gonna need a massive slice of luck. I think with his fitness, I don't think anyone can really sit back and go, well, Joel Matip's fine. I don't think anyone questions him. I think he is a fantastic centre half. But if you go, well, yeah, no problem, because he's just going to play every game between now and the end of the season, you wouldn't be taking that bet. You wouldn't. So we're going to have to hope, we're going to have to cross our fingers and toes that Joel Matip has a little bit of luck with regards to injuries, because if we don't, we're going to have to face up to other options. And the other options, when you stretch it back, obviously, is Fabinho. Now, we're lucky in so much as we kept Wijnaldum, which is a massive win for us in the transfer window, and that shouldn't be forgotten, in addition to adding Thiago. So in terms of our midfield options, yes, I think our best midfield in the biggest games, you're going to need Fabinho in there. But if you have to move him into centre-half, look, it's not ideal. It's not ideal, but we're not living in an ideal world at this point. Hopefully that Liverpool will be able to cope with using him as a centre-half, because in Jordan Henderson, Wijnaldum, Thiago, you've got three outstanding options to cover Fabinho, and then obviously the rise of Curtis Jones means you've got another good option to cover in midfield. Oxlade-Chamberlain will be back at some point this season, hopefully, which will give us another decent option for midfield as well. And obviously, again, Milner is eternal, the man for all seasons, can come in and do solid jobs at any level of the game. So I think we're well stocked to cover the absence of Fabinho should we need to. And alternatively, look, you just don't know. And again, I'm going to point this out. It's pure speculation at this point, and it's based on nothing more than a few positive words that have been said by the likes of Pep Linders and Jurgen Klopp in pre-season and what have you. this might be an opportunity where we look back in years to come and this was the season that was the building blocks for a great career for the likes of Billy Koumetio or the likes of Reece Williams or the likes of Sepp van den Berg. And on the scale of likelihood, I think it's Billy Koumetio who's the one who's the most favoured. He's the one who's been talked up the most by the Liverpool staff. I don't know what will come of Reece Williams. We saw he got his England under-21 debut the other week, which is very, very promising, very encouraging. And he's looked good in the games that he's played for us so far, so maybe it's absolutely fine. I don't know where Van den Berg is, so I have no great expectation on him. But what we do know is that Jurgen Klopp will happily, I say happily, if he's forced to give kids the opportunity, he'll back them, he'll beef them up in the best possible way. And I always think about Trent Alexander-Arnold debuting at Old Trafford. At Old Trafford. And look, being fine. That wasn't the game that we look back on as Trent's finest performance in Liverpool shirt. It wasn't. But it was him coming in, him holding his own. And that is a game that when we look back, when people put together a documentary on the career of Trent Alexander-Arnold, you'll have the free kicks, you'll have the goals, you'll have the assists and the records that he's broken. But it will always be that game at Old Trafford where we needed to throw him in almost out of the blue. And he came in and he held his own, and that became the start of what has been so far a phenomenal rise. And look, that because Trent did it doesn't mean someone else is likely to do it. I'm just saying it exists in possibility. And if we've got young players there, you've got to use what's available to you. I think we will use more senior players, but there might also be a story brewing that we're not privy to right now, where a young lad just gets this opportunity and really, kicks his career on massively that he would have done given any normal circumstances. So, what you've got to do always in real situations where real setbacks happen, real negatives, you can't dwell on it. You can't sit in it too long because you can't allow it to damage your forward momentum. You can't cry about it. Crying about it doesn't fix it in any way, shape or form. You've got to turn around, you've got to look at who's around you, and you've got to continue to move forward. And one thing we know what Jurgen Klopp and his backroom staff are very good at doing is fostering that wonderful attitude. You think about Liverpool losing Coutinho. We lost him to a sale, fine, but what it did was it galvanised the squad around it. And you'd like to back this Liverpool squad in terms of its mentality. Maybe we won't be the same side, but we'll have to be a different variation of the side. And look, Liverpool have never been better placed to handle the losing of a genuinely world-class player than they are right now. If you take world-class players out in years gone by, in most other seasons in Liverpool's, Premier League history, certainly, this would have been something that knocked us completely flat on our arse. It might well yet do, but my hope and my gut feeling is that it won't. And I still think Liverpool are primed for a fantastic season. But let me know your thoughts on all that in the comments section underneath. Do go and download the OneFootball app. It is fantastic, and let me know how you're getting on with it in the comments as well. Yes, plenty more from me over on the Redmen TV YouTube channel. I'll be doing a big discussion on this point on the podcast on Tuesday, so make sure you check that one out. And yeah, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you want more thoughts, feelings and opinions. No vlogs at the moment, but yeah, I will be doing a few more of these videos in the coming weeks, so yeah, make sure you subscribe and I'll see you all soon. Nice one.